Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a financial mystery that is hiding right in plain sight in our everyday lives. Seriously, it's everywhere. To really get this, we have to look at our modern financial landscape. We live in an era where the physical friction of spending money has literally been engineered out of existence. Cash is getting super rare, right? It's been replaced by invisible digits, saved payment profiles, and that oh-so-easy one-click purchasing. Because of this totally seamless environment, a phenomenon happens that affects almost everyone, yet nobody spots it until it's too late. We're going to explore the underlying mechanics and psychology behind what we call the invisible erosion of wealth.
Okay, let's dive into this. There's a quote from our source material that perfectly captures the reality of this modern environment. "I spent money every day and never thought twice about it." Think about the brutal honesty in that statement for a second. It perfectly encapsulates that unthinking, mundane routine of daily purchases we all share. Think about how buying things works today. You double-click a side button on your phone, a screen scans your face, you hear a little ping, and boom, transaction complete. It's a rhythm we inevitably fall into because tech is designed to remove absolutely every barrier between our desires and our wallets. We're not talking about buying a car here. We're talking about those tiny, daily, completely frictionless moments where we part with our cash and genuinely don't even engage our conscious minds.
And because of that total lack of friction, a massive gap opens up between what we think we're spending and the actual mathematical reality. Behavioral economics tells us that the human brain is just remarkably bad at calculating the cumulative sum of small numbers over a long period. In our heads, an isolated daily transaction feels totally harmless. It registers as this tiny, insignificant blip. $5 here, $8 there. It doesn't set off any internal alarm bells. But the hidden reality? The actual math of what's happening? It's a constant, silent drain. Our inability to intuitively add up all these microtransactions creates an illusion that it's harmless, which entirely masks a much larger and way more damaging cumulative reality.
Now, what's really interesting about this is a single word, daily. It's the sheer frequency of parting with our money that makes this behavioral loop so incredibly powerful. When an action happens every single day, it just becomes background noise. Psychologically speaking, repeated actions eventually bypass the prefrontal cortex, the part of our brain responsible for critical thinking and complex decision-making. Instead, they get offloaded to deeper parts of the brain as automatic routines. We literally stop evaluating the action, we just do it. It becomes a reflex, heavily fueled by decision fatigue. By the time you're grabbing that afternoon coffee or paying for a digital rental, your brain is just too tired to calculate the long-term impact, so it takes the path of least resistance. Take a second and reflect on your own actions, just from today alone. For most of us, it breaks down into a completely effortless two-step dance. Step 1, you make a purchase. Step 2, you move on without a second thought. How many times did you tap a card, hand over a little cash, or let an auto-renewing subscription hit your account today without engaging a single critical thought? This exact lack of friction is the perfect breeding ground for invisible erosion. We are participating in a system where the primary goal is to make parting with our money literally as thoughtless as breathing.
But as we all know, automatic habits eventually crash into reality. And that brings us to the crucial turning point of our story. It's the moment the unthinking habit meets a formal, structured review. This is where things abruptly shift gears. You go from blissful, daily ignorance to absolute, unavoidable clarity. The source text hinges entirely on this realization. The exact moment the fog finally lifts and the invisible drain takes physical shape on a bank statement. It forces you to finally calculate where the money actually went. Let's move forward and see how this builds. Think about how a typical month unfolds. In the first few days, the spending feels completely normal. It's a fresh month, balances are reset, and those small purchases feel deeply inconsequential. By the time you hit date 15, the middle of the month, you are right in the thick of the invisible drain. Blind momentum has totally taken over. You still haven't noticed a thing, it's just life as usual. But then, date 30 hits, the cycle ends, the statements generate, and the realization of where it all went finally smacks you. It's a fascinating psychological journey from total, comfortable ignorance straight into a jarring awareness, all unfolding completely under the radar over a few short weeks.
30 days. This specific time frame is absolutely vital. It's actually fascinating that a single month is the universal standard for financial tracking, right? From billing cycles to pay periods to subscription renewals. A month serves as the perfect incubation period for this phenomenon. It is just long enough for those tiny, unthinking habits to compound into a surprisingly large and impactful sum, but it's short enough that you can still look back, easily review the data, and connect the dots. 30 days is the exact interval required for micro habits to compound into a macro shock.
It's the incubation period needed for the invisible to finally become visible.
And when that 30-day tracking period concludes, something really profound occurs in the mind. It triggers a massive perspective shift. Anyone who has ever sat down to audit their own expenses knows this visceral feeling. It's that deep cognitive dissonance of looking at a long list of line items and barely recognizing your own life in those purchases. It's a tough moment. You are suddenly, undeniably forced to confront the reality of your own automated behavior, seeing vividly how hundreds of trivial decisions cascaded into a major loss of capital.
Our source captures this shock perfectly with this quote: "That moment completely changed how I see money." Confronting the accumulated data of your own daily habits doesn't just make you want to tweak a spreadsheet or adjust a budget. It fundamentally alters your entire financial worldview. The illusion of the harmless daily purchase is shattered forever. Once you actually see the cumulative damage of unthinking behavior, you can literally never look at a frictionless transaction exactly the same way again.
So why is this phenomenon so universally missed by everyday people? Well, it all comes down to human evolutionary psychology. Our internal threat detection systems are hardwired to spot large, immediate dangers. In the financial world, we are constantly scanning the horizon for boulders. We worry about a major car repair, a sudden medical bill, or a massive life event draining our savings. But because our attention is entirely consumed by watching out for these giant boulders, we completely ignore the tiny grains of sand slipping through our fingers every single day. We are simply not biologically wired to perceive microscopic, slow-moving threats.
And this brilliantly illustrates the core concept of our source material. It's an erosion. It's not a sudden financial landslide that wipes you out overnight. It's the slow, steady washing away of resources while you are looking the other way. It is the steady vanish of capital through daily habits, remaining completely unobserved until a forced period of tracking reveals the loss. Think of it like geologic time, but scaled way down to the human time frame of a single month.
So the crucial point is that the mechanics of this trap rely heavily on a really dangerous feedback loop. We spend money, and because the amounts are so small, there's no immediate pain. And without immediate consequences, there's no course correction. That lack of friction tells the brain that there is no danger, allowing the habit to hide right in plain sight. Most people simply don't notice the drain happening because the system is operating exactly as it was designed to, quietly, efficiently, and relentlessly, until that 30-day mark forces them to finally look in the mirror.
This brings us to the end of our explainer, but really, it's just the beginning of your own investigation. I want you to think about everything we've just uncovered about human habits, frictionless environments, and the way our brains process cumulative data. If you tracked your own spending for the next 30 days, what invisible erosion would you find? What unthinking daily habits are currently hiding in plain sight in your own life?